y'all? Marvin here from Blacktop Banter. Really quick, just wanted to talk about the 800 Pavement Network. As you can see, we have some lettering there, lettering on our other truck over there, lettering on this truck here. They all say 1-800-Blacktop. We've been using the 1-800-Blacktop number here for the last couple of years. It's really been exceptional for us as far as making things click with our branding, and now that we're in another state, those area codes are together. It's worked out fantastically for us. The other thing is that 800 Pavement Network has other advantages. There's group discounts on a lot of the products and materials that we use within our industry. We're part of over 300 different, see that one? Over 300 different contractors that are now using these numbers all over the country. That's combined over $2 billion in gross profits. So if you've been thinking about it or you're curious about it and you're like, well, oh, should I or shouldn't I? DM me, message me, or reach out to 800 Pavement Network. You can find them online through their website. You can call 1-800-Pavement and you'll get them as well. They'd be happy to run you through kind of the advantages and everything else that we've been taking advantage of here at Wiscote and Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance, and how it can benefit you as well. Once again, if you're curious about it at all, you can always DM me. So yeah, 1-800-Blacktop. You can DM me or message me or email me through the podcast or Wiscote or wherever as well. I would love to talk to you about how it has helped us. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Blacktop Banter. This is episode 74, and I'm really excited because we have a repeat guest back. I know we've only had probably 4 or 5, so we're in good company today. This guy is actually one of my good friends throughout the industry. I've called him multiple times. We talk, I don't know, probably once a month, hopefully. And I've had some great advice and great business advice and great career advice come from Craig. Craig, you want to introduce yourself? I know you did before on the previous episode, but we'll go ahead and let you roll out your resume again here.
Well, we'll keep it pretty short this time. My name's Craig Granroth. Recently retired from the contracting business. Sold the company over a year ago. I'm located here in Minnesota. And, I've been in the business 29 years. And right now I just kind of sit back and follow what's going on.
Yeah, watch Marvin and say, what are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations once again. I know I've said it plenty of times on your success and selling the company and kicking it and observing and being able to be in that position, to not have to be in the war zone, as I like to call it, when we're out there with it all summer long. When we talk about your experience in your 25 years, really brush us up on all that real quick on, you're one of the guys, much like myself, where we had brooms in our hands, we did the work. Touch on that a little bit.
Well, back in the early 90s, I was hired as a sales position, and, which was great. But then, we get shorthanded and I'd go down the field in the weekends, and that's how you got to learn things. And as I evolved and moved on to another company, now we were doing more paving. So, and it was more commercial paving, homeowner associations, things like that. And so I was able to learn some things, working with some real great foremen and superintendents and owners that made me get out in the field and say, hey, watch this production. Mm-hmm. Watch how this thing's go. It's going to help you in the future. So it was pretty exciting that way. And then just through everybody, the collaboration of a couple of companies I'd worked with, and then starting my own, as is basically just being a broker of asphalt, going out and getting jobs and subbing it out to the right companies.
Yep.
That was the beautiful thing, is that I knew what companies had the forte in certain areas.
Right.
And they had good price points, and their service was good. And I was able to put them in the right situation for them to be successful, for myself to be successful. And so the customer was happy.
You've always had a keen eye for that kind of stuff. That's one thing I know, even when you and I've been able to hang out, and even if we've been hanging out at whether it was one of the expos or whatever, and we were partying a little bit, that stuff always caught your attention, whether it was a piece of equipment or a company or somebody was talking about an idea. That stuff always caught your attention of, hey, there's space there. There's space for this, or hey, we can take advantage of this to help production or help margins or anything like that. Were you always like that? Was that just an observant thing that you always had?
I think I'll sit back and I'll watch things and figure out how I can implement it.
I got you.
And probably be the first one to tell you, I'm no inventor of anything. I take everybody else's ideas and start putting them into my own,
right,
and making it work. And sometimes I'd see myself, we're doing a big circle, and it's like, well, heck, these guys are just doing a straight line.
Yeah.
Why don't we do the straight line? It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's going somewhere.
So you kind of see some of the benefits from talking to other people about things, and to talk to other companies around the nation. I mean, this isn't too far back. I had a project for a company out of Canada. It was in St. Louis, Missouri. He's like, Craig, I really need a price. It was for a grocery store, which we've done plenty of retail settings like that. We need to mill and pave it. We don't know what's going on with the parking lot. So I went down there, did soil borings. I says, yeah, this thing, all it needs to be done is to be 2-inch mill off and pave. I priced it as if I was bringing my own guys down there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next spring, he's like, yeah, we want to go ahead and do it. And I'm like, okay. So then I searched out some companies in the area. And I probably had 3-4 companies respond back.
Mm-hmm.
The company I felt most comfortable with was amazing. So I show up there the first day of the job. I flew in and I wasn't there right away. They knew what to do to start. The customer knew I wasn't going to be there. I'd be an hour or two later. This company here did everything how we did things here in Minnesota.
Okay.
But they did some things different that I was able to bring back. And it was so awesome. And probably the biggest compliment I got from those guys, like, we've worked with other guys across the country.
Right.
You just let us do our job. I go, you guys are doing everything how I expected it to be.
Yeah.
We had a plan in place. I wasn't trying to, have you guys do something that you couldn't do.
Right.
The only question I had is, I said, what's with those two guys over there? They're like, well, Craig, we're just on the St. Louis, Illinois border, and we're in Illinois right now. Because we're in this area, I had to grab these 2 union guys. We just tell them just kind of go stand over there and do something. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the part that was driving me nuts. These guys weren't doing anything, and all the other guys were doing all the work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an observation, and that's, one thing that, as I mentioned that, whether you and I were walking the floor or whatever, and you'd point stuff out to me that I wasn't even thinking about at that point, because you and I were when we met, I was on this level of success while you were capping out up here at this level, and you'd seen a lot more than I had seen at that point. So that's another thing that you bring to the table with that observationism is that you're able to parlay that to guys like myself that are going to use that knowledge and use your time that you're giving to us wisely. One thing that I really liked to pick your brain about when we were together, and whether we were at dinner or whatever, was the seal coating aspect of it, because that's the largest part of what we do here at Wiscoat and now at Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance as well. We are starting to branch out into different things, as you told me I should, and those line striping, patching, even the paving side, those are becoming larger portions of our gross income versus what used to be strictly seal coating was 90% of it. But to touch back on the seal coating aspect of it, that's something where you have a lot of knowledge that I've been able to pick at your brain about. Can you tell us about, I know you probably can't tell us specifics or stuff like that, but tell us about the seal coating aspect of what you used to do and that portion of it and your experience with seal coating in general.
Well, here's the thing that I'll tell you about seal coating. It is the easiest thing to do, or what I'm saying, it's easy to do and it's easy to screw up too.
Yeah.
Very easy to screw up. The biggest thing is that I taught our guys, and it's been a while since I've even taught our guys because it's been so, they've all been trained so well that, hey, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Here in Minnesota, we route a lot of cracks.
Yep.
So the first thing you get on the parking lot, you start routing cracks. Right behind it, we'd run 4 to 5 man crews. And right behind it, you'd have guys starting to clean it. With walk behind blowers, yeah, I get it. There are the ride-on blowers. Not that we couldn't afford ride-on blowers. We never went there, and I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But they all had seal brooms too.
Yep.
The most important thing in seal coating is cleaning that pavement surface. Absolutely the most important thing.
Yep.
And that's why I didn't have ride-on
blowers.
Ride-ons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Now somebody has to get up and scrub an area. Are they going to do it? Aren't they going to do it? You want to know why I know that if they are or not going to do it? Because we actually had one when we merged with a company before, and they had those.
Yep.
I'm like, well, this is awesome. And I cleaned off the parking lot, and I went back through, and I'm like,
you could see all the spots.
You got to get your butt off the machine and scrub them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're good and bad.
Yeah, they're good and bad.
But when things were out of my control, granted, I was one of the owners of the company. I'm gonna probably take more pride in my work than somebody else.
Of course.
And they're like, that's clean enough.
Oh, yeah. The guys, yeah.
And, so we just kind of left it to the walking part.
Yeah.
That was a culture that I might have fought technology on it a little bit. And I had my reason for it. And I told everybody, yeah, I'll buy these things all day long. But if you promise me that you'll get off and scrub.
Yeah.
And I did not have a good warm feeling they were going to do that.
Yeah, that's with that blower moving faster and being able to move faster, they're not going to broom as efficiently as they would if everybody was moving at the same pace. Right. Yeah. The guy's going to be on the blower going like, come on. Yeah. And you're going to have spots that aren't clean enough. And, the conversation then leads to, you saying the most important thing is that prep work and how clean it is. It doesn't matter what the sealer is now. It has to be clean. It has to be clean in order to give you the best shot at adhesion. It has to be clean. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about sealers, because I know that that's something that you've mentioned to me. Man, these guys they don't understand. They don't understand what's going on with emulsions and things nowadays. Let's talk about that, how that's changed, because in the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen coal tar get removed from a lot of places. Yeah. Get banned in a lot of places. So now we're dealing with a lot of emulsions that are eco-friendly, right? That seems to be the few big major companies. Hey, it's eco-friendly, which, is great for marketing, because it was like, well, yeah, but 10 years ago, you weren't giving a rat's ass about eco-friendly. Now that it happens to be forced by law, you're going to promote that it's eco-friendly. Sure. Tell us what's going on with that, man, because it's been a long time since I touched on that. I think 2017, I did a video with Steve Young from Young Seal Coating, and he explained what an emulsion was. but he didn't explain what's going on with it when we're having contact with the pavement and those types of things. So go through and explain to us that real quick, where
Well,
we're at with that.
and that's, I don't want to misrepresent anything from any of the manufacturers. It's probably a better question for the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Which that really brings into the fact of with the emulsions is people aren't listening to the manufacturers.
Bingo.
They're not listening to the manufacturers. And you remember when we were talking about doing this podcast, I called you and I was all fired up, wasn't I? I'm on these Facebook pages.
Yep.
And I'm like going, what is wrong with these people?
You're seeing failures everywhere. Like not the people failures, but the sealer failure. It's just like,
they're calling it sealer failures.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's people failures.
Yeah. Yep.
Now I'm gonna say this. I think a lot of the sealers are all very similar from the different manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe some of them that have franchise systems, some franchises may be different than others.
Mm-hmm. I believe that to be true.
Which I had a chance to work. I worked with one of the bigger franchise systems and with a couple of the owners, and they were fabulous.
Yep.
But I see them getting lambasted online. And it's like, well, this ain't right. I'm using the same product.
Yep.
That's getting made. And I'm like going, what's going on? So here's what I'll tell you, my belief of what's going on. If you're Joe Contractor and now you're being forced to use asphalt emulsion and you're going to use a product and then I'll just come out and say PMM because that's the big one everybody wants to complain about.
Yep.
PMM.
Yeah, that's what we use.
Yep, so. And that's what I used for over 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. This wasn't new to me. You got to remember, I was from the coal tar age too.
I know, man. I know.
So like Joe Contract says, this stuff don't work at all. Okay. And I'm sitting there going, how did it not work? When I had failures, it was on me, not on the manufacturer. It was on me.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that here in a second.
I will too. I'll tell you a couple times it was on me too. So,
and sometimes it's on the contractor without them even knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, so you'll read on one of these Facebook deals and somebody will go, I went down to my local place and got some PMM, went home, and I put in 30 gallons or 30% water.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, what are you doing? That product is ready to use.
Most of the time it is. Most of the time it's ready to use.
We used to purchase PMM bulk and we added our own sand.
Yeah.
For the longest time. At the end, we got it ready to use.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at it. We're like going, well, it cuts down on the time for our guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine. We try to stay within all the legal stuff of DOT and stuff like that. So we try to keep our guys at 60, 70 hours a week.
Yep.
So when people are trying to act like it's coal tar, you can't cut it with water that much.
No.
You shouldn't have been cutting it with that much water
to begin with
in coal tar.
Yeah.
And when people say 30% in the seal coating world and 30% out of the seal coating world are two different things. Because 100% is a full, right?
Yeah. So when you say I put 30% water to it.
Yeah. So a lot of
your
people
finished product isn't 30% then at that point.
And I've argued with all the manufacturers out there about this. I said, quit saying percentages.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, so if you're saying 20% water, that means people think that they got 100 gallons of area that they're going to put 80 gallons of sealer in, 20 gallons of water.
Mm-hmm.
No, what you need to be saying is 100 parts of sealer, 20 parts of water.
Yep.
That is what 20% means in this industry.
Yeah.
10%.
When we say that, when everyone says that, that's what it should be. The problem is when they do that, they don't realize that there's a chemical makeup, right, with these mixtures, and that emulsion, I don't even know that people know what emulsion is or what the word means when we talk about sealers. And when they add too much water, they're ruining the emulsion, the actual emulsification of the sealers getting ruined.
Yeah.
Right. So then you have separation going on, but yet you're trying to get it to bond evenly to a pavement, even though you have separation going on in your tank. Let's say you're going to use 100 gallons. The first 10 gallons are going to be way different than the last 10 gallons because you've ruined the emulsion inside there. Even if you agitate it while it's going, the chemical makeup of that has changed. The way that it was meant to bond to the pavement has changed. Yeah.
You've already broke down everything.
Yeah.
Yep. You broke down everything. And when you were saying emulsion means to emulsify, to put together.
Yeah.
Oil and water don't mix, do they, Marvin?
No, never have. I don't think
so. That's why they call it an asphalt emulsion. It is a mixture of asphalt and water.
Yep.
In there, and a lot of the companies put in polymers now.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said and done, they're using high-speed blenders to do that.
Batching systems.
Yeah. So they have it high speed. So that's why I was always a big believer in getting the ready-to-use product now, because they're able to spin all that, mix all that in at a high rate, even the sand into it. And for some of the guys that might watch us in the future, get yourself a good pumping system that can pump sand.
You need it. It's a necessary thing nowadays.
So here's what will happen. Even back in the days when I was getting the PMM, it'd be a little thick. And I'd say, when I was learning, I'm like, hey, this stuff is really, really thick. And I'd have a 1,500 gallon tank. And in full, I go, yeah, it's thick. And they're like, well, put some water in it. Okay, just making sure this comes from the manufacturer. But in a 1,500 gallon tank, you know how much water they told me to put in there?
Probably 100 gallons, 50 gallons.
5 gallons.
Yeah.
It was just enough.
For PMM?
Yes.
Yeah,
it was just enough to get it to
mix.
So what'll happen, and people don't realize this, no matter if you have it delivered on-site, delivered to your bulk tank, or if you have it sitting in your tank for a while, you're going to lose some of the water through evaporation.
It happens. In a closed bulk tank, it'll happen.
Yeah.
It does.
So these are things that, I'm adding 5 gallons of water to 1,500 gallons, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
A lot of guys will go, oh, I got to add in this. Now it's junk. I can't get it to spray. I'm like, I've sprayed it through old equipment, small air diaphragms.
Yeah. Well, we sprayed it through 1-inch Aero pump for probably a full season, and it was thick. It was thick.
And Marvin, and you're seeing, and we're hearing this from everybody across the country, the product's junk.
Yeah.
It's different.
That's all there is. It's different. And the older ones, excuse me.
You can't lay out a bead to do some cutting in or edging along a curb line. You can't go 500 feet.
No. Unless
you got 100 guys there to do it, because it starts setting up faster.
Yep. You just got to do smaller increments.
Yeah. And people say, well, I can't make any money that way. Yeah, you can. My seal coating process from when I did coal tar to now has not changed.
No, mine didn't.
The only nice thing is to do it the right way, in my opinion. You have to let it dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to. You're going to have humid days. It's like, okay, maybe you need to add some fast dry to it. But PMM is going to dry way faster than coal tar.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the funniest thing is I'm talking about putting down the first coat. There's the next key. It requires a 2-coat system.
For it to last the way that you want it to last, it does.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a 2. Coal tar was supposed to be a 2-coat system.
Right.
You guys, the days of cheating the system, cheating the customer.
That's what I was just going to say. That's what I was just going to say. The buffer that you had before with coal tar doesn't exist anymore. Like the chance for you to be slack a little bit, and it's still the creosote that was in the coal tar to eat through the dirt spot a little bit and still grab the asphalt. That doesn't happen anymore. Like it's going to have to be slick clean. And you'll see some of the guys that I think that are doing it the correct way, which we don't do here. We don't have as much moss and different things, but there's guys that go out and pressure wash certain driveways beforehand, or soft wash them. I'm sorry. Not a lot of people use pressure washing for pavement because you see it just eat through the blacktop, right? But they're prepping it because they know even if they were to clean it with steel bristled brooms and blow it and everything, that it probably wouldn't adhere underneath trees where there's been moss already on the pavement. You can almost guarantee it's not going to bond.
Yeah.
But you'll see them go out and do what's necessary to get it to bond. You can't just do like before and be like, well, you know, there's a good 75% chance the coal tar is going to grab and hold on right there and it'll be okay. Literally now, when we do projects where it's covered in trees, I tell the client right away, there's a high percentage it's not going to bond. And we're going to have to, you know, you're going to see it next year. You'll see the pavement back again.
So we were doing a homeowners association, and the next year they called me out and said, Craig, we have some issues with the roads out here. Okay. I went out there and I looked and I'm like, and I'll explain, I put down PMM. The first coat was squeegeed on.
Okay.
The second coat was sprayed on.
Yep.
So I'm running on that, on that particular project.
Yep.
I was probably running about 37 square feet per gallon.
Okay. That's heavy.
It's heavy, and it had been sealed before, and it had a couple areas of failure. For next thing you know, I'm out there, I'm looking at the trees. It's the pollens.
Oh yeah.
And it don't matter if it's oak, pine, birch.
Doesn't matter.
And you don't know what day that the pollens were released from the tree and which way the wind was blowing.
Yep.
But you do see it in a circular area.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You'll also see it. What I've come to find out with it is that even if the pollen has hit the pavement at all beforehand, it still stays in those air voids. I know with compaction ratings, you want 95%, you know, compaction. That means still 5% of it is air voids. So if you have pollen that has went down in there into the air voids, or if it had a big pollen on there, or any kind of organic material that comes off the tree, really, you know, we've seen it with crushed walnuts that are on pavement, leaves that have been ground into it, and then it rains, then it's really leached down into those air voids and it's there. When you go to coat over that, whatever the biodegrading that's going on releases the sealer from the pavement. It just does. And, you know, you tell people that sometimes they're like, get out. It's like, no, that's what it is. I know that that's what it is.
I know. And a lot of people look at you like, yeah, you're just jerking my chain.
Yep.
And everybody's saying, we're blaming the manufacturer, blaming the sealer. You know what? The coal tar wasn't really sticking that good either.
No, it'd come up. You find you go back after a year or two, if you wanted to, you'd be able to pick a sheet up or pick pieces out if you wanted to, if you knew where to put. The best thing it did was it would bond to itself in the coating on that sheet. And that whole thing in under a 2-foot area could be not even bonded. You wouldn't know it until that part got fractured, and then that whole sheet would come off. Right. Yeah. So it's different.
Here's the funny thing is I had a major retailer in the north here. They used to have a pretty good seal coating program where they did lots of gallons of sealer.
Yeah.
Excuse me for a second.
Go ahead.
They said, Craig, the couple areas we can't get into it here. He was on site. He goes, it's like flaking off. Oh, really? I said, hey, do me a favor. take one of those chunks and turn it upside down.
Show me what's on the bottom of it.
He goes, I go, what's on the bottom? He goes, well, it looks like there's sand. I go, well, that's why it didn't adhere. It wasn't properly cleaned.
Yep.
So all the seal coating manufacturers this year are getting such a bad rap. And I'm like, what do we do to fix this?
Yeah.
I mean, I even talked to a couple of manufacturers and saying, how can you guys sit by and let this happen? Well, Craig, it's not everybody, it's a few squeaky wheels. I go, these guys could kill your industry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You get a few of them that make a lot of noise and have one problem with it and mention a name. It kills it nowadays. It either makes or breaks, especially with the way social media is. It can make or break something. How many times have I had a product where I used it and the next thing we know, 12 people are using it, or the video's got 1,000 views or 2,000 views because people are curious what's going on with it. It's make or break. Some of these things are. So as much as we wanted to keep everybody accountable, sometimes when you get the response of, there's nothing we can do. It's like, you have to make it work. Yeah.
And it's like, so, we have the emulsions, and there's people that are using the LPs out there. Mark my words, you guys, they're going to be banned.
Yeah.
Come on. It smells like coal tar. It looks like coal tar.
Yeah. It's coal tar.
Yeah.
When it dries the color of this shirt I'm wearing.
Now, we didn't have that problem, and we would use that towards the fall of the year.
The coal tar or the LPs or what?
The LPs.
Yeah.
And we were some of the first ones that used it in the Minnesota marketplace because we knew of somebody that we could get it from out of the Chicago area who actually produced it. And it was different. It extended our season a little bit. But you know what? Really, all these contractors got to look at is, let's do things the right way. We're going to have to charge more. People aren't going to pay for it, they say. BS.
Yeah, they will.
People will pay for it. And if they don't want to pay for a good quality product, move on.
Yeah, there's plenty of work out there. That's what our business model has been now for the last 6-8 years. And you watched what Wiscoat did when you first met me to where we are now. It all happened when we demanded more of ourselves to do projects with better quality, therefore demanding higher margins, right? Higher price per square foot, and they'll pay it. Why would a contractor not want higher margins? Why not do what it takes to get higher margins? That means you're going to have to do less work, right? And sell less to create either the same or more profit for yourself. It only makes sense to do it the way that it should be done.
Well, the problem, Marvin, is this gets into, we're kind of getting off topic here, but because people don't know their costs.
That's true.
They don't know their costs.
Conversations about that.
I mean, that's the thing that drives me nuts. Every project that came through my company had a cost. Overhead was assigned to every company, to every project.
Yep.
All the costs of the material, the labor, the equipment.
Yeah.
We're all in there because, I had 5-6 salesmen too. They got paid on the profitability of the job, not on the gross sale.
Right. The margin, the net. So, to stay on that a little bit, I know we've touched emulsions and whatnot with it, but this is something that you and I talk about fairly often is job costing and what their costs are actually. And I think we both agree you'll never be able to pin it down exactly, but you can get really, really close within, especially if you're doing a large project, to where the buffer isn't insane, right? To where you're like, oh, we're off by, tens of thousands or whatever. With me, people always ask, hey man, what are you doing over the winter? I'm like, well, podcast and write articles and do this. I'm like, well, man, how much, what did you guys gross? And I'll share that. And they're like, well, I share that too, but I got to go get a job. We have to plow. We have to have 10 plow trucks out. Everybody has to go to work. I got to work. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Apparently there's something there that I understand that you don't understand about job costing and creating margin, because you mentioned to it, you talked to it earlier before we got on the podcast. You could have a company that's grossing 300K and they're only making 50K net, right? And then who's going to survive off that, or how are you going to grow and scale, excuse me, on that level? You can't. You can't, especially over a short amount, the long term, maybe you might be able to double, but short term, you're not gonna be able to. So something has to give. You have to figure that out. The best thing that I ever did was take advice, and it kept getting pounded into me, not only from you, but from a few of my other friends as well. Of, if you're going to make something of this, job costing has to be part of it. And then that allowed me to find out, even though I didn't pin it out exactly, it allowed me to figure out, well, how much do I need to make in order to be able to scale, in order to be able to cover probably my stupidity as well during some moves. And that was it. It was job costing and creating margin to get where we need to be. And I had to come to terms with, I'm not going to get all the jobs, right?
Yeah.
And now I went from seeing people doing jobs that I wish I did and being like, son of a bitch, to now I see them doing it and see the way they're doing it and understanding what they got the price for. And I'm like, perfect. They're digging their own grave. Yeah, it works out great. They go ahead and do it, I guess. If you want to break even or lose money on it, have at it.
A lot of people say, I'm going to do $500,000 a year, or $1 million, $3 million.
Yep.
Okay, so how do you get there? How do you get there? You have to know your costs. What are your equipment costs?
Yep.
To do all that. And the biggest reason, to job costs is, if you're compensating salesmen like how we did, you need to have job costing. But two, let's just say it's May timeframe.
Yep.
And I got 3 seal coating crews out, a paving crew, a patch crew, a milling crew, and a couple prep crews. The reason why you have to have that in there, because we used to build all our own jobs too on time. You put in everything to figure it out. Well, if a crew isn't doing well, you got to see that. You're going to see that they're not doing well. So you can go to the superintendents, go to the foremans and say, hey, what's going on? Is it something wrong with the crew, or is it this particular salesman who isn't estimating it correctly? What's going on? Instead of waiting to the end of the year and saying, wow, we did $15 million this year and I didn't make any money.
Yeah.
Where does that make sense?
Yeah. And why?
And we would use our job costing against the accounting program. It was a checks and balance too, to make sure everything was getting billed and everything was in all the bill, that what we were getting billed on things were coming in. It was a great system to see, and that's where you need to know where you're going at. Okay, granted, if I knew I needed to do 20 million this year, okay, we need to get 20 million. If I do that, I'm gonna base it on that, and I'm gonna figure out all my overhead needs in there, so I can assign an overhead figure to every job that comes in.
Yep.
I don't care if it's a $5,000 job or a $250,000 job. It's gonna get assigned a percentage of overhead to that job.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of safeguards there.
Yeah.
And it also keeps everybody accountable too. Everybody from the owner down to the field on it, because everybody's checking each other, because, bonuses come out of things like that.
Yeah. Yep. That's a very important point, because it's hard to get people to focus on being efficient without any kind of incentive, right? Like, how many times have you seen guys that get paid by the hour moving slower than what you would ever imagine somebody should move? But if you can incentivize it to get done quicker, on top of it, not only are you, and let's say you do get awarded bonus off that, even then you're churning out more projects. right? Faster. And that's the point of what we do where we live. We're in Wisconsin, you're in Minnesota. You and I both know the name of the game is the weather. Like, crunch as much as you can in. We got half a year compared to the guys in the South. We need to move.
Oh,
right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's a great point. Great point to make about that as far as the bonuses and incentives.
Oh, yeah.
So
there's so many things I could talk about this.
I know. I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, we're getting into something that could be listed for a different podcast for a different time. But that's the thing about being able for you and I to talk is we talk about other stuff, wrestling, hunting, and everything else that we both enjoy very much and where we live and how great the Packers are over the Vikings. We talk about that all the time.
Oh, does Wisconsin have a football team?
Well, yeah, man.
You guys got Nicolas Cage as your quarterback, I see.
That's all right. I'll go deal with Con Air. That's all right. Don't bother me any. Hey, listen, Nicolas Cage was really, really good. And now he's making B movies. But you still watch the ones where he was really, really good. So we're hoping that the Nicolas Cage Con Air era is here. Just one more. That's all I want out of the guy is one more.
I just want one.
I just want
one. I just want one.
I don't know, man. Justin Jefferson is a beast. The kid's a monster. He pulls down everything. I enjoy it. I enjoy watching those guys. They got what it takes. The Vikings have what it takes.
Oh, I think they're a very underrated team this year.
Yeah, they have everything it takes. They have all the components, and the guys are young. The guys are hungry. The timing is right. They got a great. I think Kirk Cousins is one of the underrated quarterbacks or whatever. I think they got it, dude. I think they got what it takes.
Oh yeah, it'll be a fun season.
Yeah, it'll be good to go like this back and forth.
Yeah.
So before we get on to what that could be a whole nother podcast, you've given a lot of good advice. What would be one solid piece of advice that kind of blankets guys that are listening to this that are at a level and they want to get to a certain level, whether it's minding their P's and Q's. We kind of already spoke about it as far as knowing your costs and things like that, but what would be one general thing where you're like, hey, man, you have to have this in your mind most of the time, all the time, if you're going to do what you need to do to succeed in this game?
The biggest thing is I analyze things all the time. I was very conservative with my numbers. I'd hear guys, we're going to do $10 million. How are you going to get there? We're going to do $10 million.
Yeah, but how?
Half the time people don't get there that way. People would say, what are you going to do? I'm going to do $20 million. How are you going to do it that way? Well, here's what our sales program looks like. Here's what I anticipate sales coming in. Well, how do you know you're going to have sales coming in? Well, I close at this percentage. This guy closes here. As a company, we close at this. I anticipate sales being here, here, here.
Yep.
In January, February, March. And they're like, whoa, you live in Minnesota. You guys sell in the wintertime? I'm like, shh. Don't tell anybody. I had no competition at the time.
Yeah.
Everybody else was snowmobiling. I'm working.
Yeah, you're ready to get them out the gate.
So, and it's having a plan. It's having a blueprint. You can't, this shotgun approach of just shooting it out and throwing everything out doesn't work. Have a plan. It could be the worst plan in the world. At least it's a plan.
That's right.
It's a plan. And if you stick to that plan, you will get there.
Yeah.
Break it down. I believe in the KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
So I will tell people, even as when I was a salesperson, it was kind of a business within the business. If I was going to go and sell $3 million a year, I'd break that down per month, knowing that January, February, March, it's not that big, hot and heavy. Mm-hmm. March, it starts ramping up. And so I'd write down every month what my sales goals were. People are like, wow, you do that on a monthly basis. I go, well, yeah, I have to keep pace with what I need.
Right.
They're like, wow, that's impressive. I go, why? That's only step one. Step two is I break it down into 4 weeks. And I would do that. And then I'd break it down by the day. And then I broke it down by the half day. The reason the half day, I'd be like, get up, do this. We're moving. Hey, I hit my goal for this part of the day. I had half day goals, today goals. But it kept me focused.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so you got this for the sales. I'm like, yeah. So then I kept track of the dollars of proposals going on. I was closing probably right around 45%.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
A lot of existing clients.
Yep.
And so if I knew I wanted to do through, let's say $3 million, I probably had to quote out 7 million.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would break that down by the week, the month, the day, the half day. And then salespeople say, oh, I'm so busy, Craig. What do you mean? What are you so busy with? Didn't you break things down like I told you? I go, if you went out and did 4 proposals a day, just 5 days a week, I'm not even asking you to work weekends.
Right.
That's 20 proposals. Yeah. Well, what's your average job you're proposing? They would tell me this. Okay, now let's spread it out over these weeks. Oh wow. I'm way short of what I need to do. I'm like, yeah, that's why we talk about proposals, because you have to know your closing percentage of what you're getting. Because if you want to make $100,000, if you want to make $500,000, you have to have that as a plan.
Yep.
You have to, and it is so simple, and just stick to it.
Yep.
Now, things that I can help people with. How do I get leads? Guess what? I never wanted leads from the company at all. Never did. I always went and found my own.
Yeah.
And those are the customers that I love the best. And I'll tell you this quick one here. It was after my first year. So it was 1993. It was the winter time. I was going to school, but I would still go into work because I liked hanging out with the owners there. And, you know, the one, I still talk to him on a daily basis. The guy that I ended up buying his company out, and he's retiring this year. He's actually still working at 70 years old.
Dang.
And he's crushing it. And in the winter, I'm like, yeah, I need to get more customers. And I'm just sitting there and nobody was there. I grabbed the phone book. Okay, so you millennials and stuff, a phone book, it's like you got to open it up.
We got them here. We use them to hold the doors open.
And the first person I called, the manager, I was going after property management companies. The first one was called ACT Management. I had that customer for over 25 years until I retired 2 years ago.
Dang.
A year and a half ago.
I hope so.
I still talk to them now.
I hope people had a pen and paper and wrote down property management companies, and that's what they shoot for. But I know there's not going to be people that do. But and
if you're in the residential niche, you got to know how many flyers you have to get sent out to get a phone call back. How many doors do you need to knock to get somebody to say yes?
Yeah. If I could tell you how many guys that I talk to where they're not even willing to do those things, flyers, they're sitting around looking at their phone wondering why it's not ringing. And it's just like, dude, there's somebody out there that isn't even worried about that. They're more worried about how are they going to get it today in a face-to-face now. Yeah. Make it happen. And you're
going to get beat every day.
You are. If that's your mentality, you're going to get beat every day.
The only time I was ever upset, I was never upset about losing a job. Well, there are jobs I was upset with. Had to evaluate, what did I do wrong? Why did that client not buy from me?
Right.
And of course, the easiest one for salespeople to say, well, they bought on price.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Yeah. Some people might, but how do you make yourself different?
Right.
How do you make yourself different? I mean, all companies are different. Granted, did I have better pricing on certain areas because we were more efficient at it,
right,
than somebody else? Now, you weren't going to see me doing Interstate 94 paving that, because I think those guys are crazy for the margins they get.
Yeah,
because they're nothing. You get one little hiccup, you lost your whole summer.
Yep,
it's crazy. But they'll do $300-400 million a year.
Yep.
Have at it, guys. It's not my wheelhouse. But, these guys, any of the levels, you just need to know what you're doing and how you're going to get there. And guess what? If you're in one point and you're trying to get to where you want to go and it's not working, stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like going and
Reevaluate.
it's like trying to go up and pick up a chick in the bar. You know, if you were going in there and saying, hey, you want to go on a date with me and submit your snooze out all the time? And they come back and say, they keep saying no to me.
Right.
Hey, why don't you take that snooze out of your mouth? They go and do it. Hey, it only took me 3 and I got 1 to say yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, you figured it out.
Yeah. Quit doing things the same way that aren't working.
Correct.
That's one of the biggest advices I can give to people. And sometimes when you're married to your business, like you are, Marvin.
Yeah.
You're married to it. And you'll call me and I'll say something, because I know you so well. I'll go, Marvin, you're a dumbass.
Oh, yeah.
Just do this. You're like, oh my God, I didn't even see.
Yep.
Because you don't see it because you are so attached to what's going on.
Yeah.
That somebody with an outside eye can just tell you one little thing to help you. And you're like, wow.
Yeah. I took a great piece of advice from you in that regard. And, you know, there's certain aspects of my industry or my business with the numbers that I'm so married to the business and the work and being out in the field yet with the projects and wanting to see what's going on and everything, that I would just put stuff on the back burner here. And luckily I've, tried to put a team together and brought people in where that's what they're focused on. And it allows me to be freed up to create more margin and more time and do what I'm good at and do what helps us create more revenue versus spend my time on that, focusing on that, doing that. And, you know, what that took was me, like you said, looking at myself and being like, okay, where am I good at? Where am I not good at? Where are we bleeding, not bleeding? And how do I solve that problem and become more efficient? Like you said, just more efficient overall. We've done that here.
It's funny. I mean, because you did ask me earlier when we were off air what I've been doing. I kind of don't look at it this way because I do it for fun. I have a friend of mine that owns a fairly big bowling center here in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And I've been doing sales training with kids that are 21, 22 years old. Mm-hmm. You're like, sales training in a bowling alley? I'm like, hell yeah. I asked these kids to get on the phone and they're like, what do you mean? I can't just text them? I'm like, no, we're going to call. We're going to possibly leave a message. And they might call back. If they don't, you're going to call them back in a couple of days. They're like, you want me to call them twice? I'm like, going, yes, it's part of the process. I go, this is step one. I go, there's a lot of bowling centers around here. We want to give the customer an experience that they want to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got to remember, guys, because some of these kids, I've known them since they've been young because they grew up in the bowling center.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think I sold for a living? And I made it exciting. I sold oil and rock.
Yeah, mashed together. Yeah.
and made it exciting.
Yeah.
You're inside of a bowling center. Everybody that wants to come to this bowling center
wants to bowl.
They want to have fun. They want to have the best experience. They want to have pizza. They want to have beer.
Yeah.
They want to have fun. They're not coming here going, oh my God, I gotta go to the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, and it's kind of like, and I told him, I said, how many building owners do you think that own parking lots that said, yeah, I gotta get that parking lot done?
Yeah.
It was nothing fun. But when I met him, I made it fun.
Yeah.
Hey, don't worry. Here's your price. I'm going to take care of this for you.
Yeah.
When are you guys available? I don't want to do very little interruption to your business.
Yep.
Oh, really? Nobody else has said that.
Yeah.
Ding.
They get excited.
I just sold that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
When do you not have people there?
Yep.
So, I mean, those are a lot of things,
There's a lot inside that cranium of yours up there that these certain situations and different things, that kind of stuff would play out for,
Oh, yeah.
We know that. And that's your what you really honed in over these years is that kind of stuff. You mentioned that, you've been training sales for the bowling alley and different things. I know just because of the way it's been going lately with Blacktop Banter that people are going to wonder, well, how can I find Craig? Like, how can we find stuff that if I have a question for him or whatever, or maybe they want some sales training or whatever. How can people find you and contact you that's not like personal, like you're not your cell phone number or anything like that?
Yeah.
You're on Facebook. I know that much.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn.
That'd be probably the most professional, best way to do it.
And it's a very generic account.
It don't matter. As long as you check the messages, all we care.
Yeah. And, I did get a message from somebody who's in the paving business here out on the West Coast. And it's very generic. You're not going to find me as Asphalt Paving. I've kind of have gotten rid of a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
Due to my buyout.
Yeah.
But no, there are things in here that, just so people don't think that you don't need help. I worked with a guy who was a business coach for the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do.
Sure.
And I guess I can kind of make this announcement right here. Cool. I probably will be going into the consulting world, but I want to be different than all the other consultants out there.
That's fine. I think you've earned that.
I want to be able to help you guys grow your business so we both profit.
Yeah.
I don't want to come in and take people's money.
Yeah.
Nothing happen.
I don't think it's something that you have to want to be. I think you already are that, Craig. Like, you're already different than the textbook kind of stuff out there because of where we are, what you went through, how you've created different sales approaches and just things that you won with over the years. So anybody that's listening knows that already, right? That you're a different setup. But if they get to hang out with you, they're really going to realize that you like to have fun and are exciting and make it exciting and make it fun. So with that, anything you want to say to close? We're closing in on over an hour yet. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. And I want to leave some content for another podcast next year and can reevaluate or anything like that.
The biggest thing is we wanted to talk about the emulsions.
Yeah.
And what I want to leave everybody with is clean your parking lots, apply the sealers to the manufacturer's specs, and don't become mad scientists and add water when you shouldn't be adding water.
Yeah.
And you will be absolutely fine.
Yep.
Absolutely fine.
And then you can charge what you should be charging for it.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we won't be seeing this stuff on Facebook. And I don't even comment on everybody complaining about it because it's like, I don't get it.
Yeah, you're going to spend a lot of time if you do that.
Yeah, and I don't have time for low-hanging fruit.
No.
We have low-hanging fruit in this industry.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just get educated. Work with your manufacturer. Don't work against them. Don't complain to them. Because without you, they don't make money either.
Right. It's all got to be one hand washing the other.
And everybody thinks that, geez, Craig, they're telling me to put this down at 50 square feet per gallon. I go, no, they're telling you to put it down at 100 square feet per gallon per coat.
Yeah.
Start doing it to the manufacturer's specs. You'll see success. They'll see more success.
And everybody be happy.
Yep. And it'll be a lot better.
Cool. Craig, thank you so much, man, once again, for joining us and dropping some information on us. I'm going to chop this up into a bunch of pieces and put it out. And there's going to be a lot of good sound bites with it. Well, congrats once again. Yeah. And hope you enjoy getting the cabin project underway and whatnot. And I'm sure we're going to be talking to each other. Wrestling season's coming up. So I know we'll be talking to each other about that again coming up. Thanks again. I really appreciate it. Everybody, this has been episode 74 with Craig Granroth. And as always, here at Blacktop Banter, we speak asphalt. We want you to seal it, pave it, stripe it, and kill it. Peace.